Hey everyone, my name is Kabi and today I'm going to show you the next game. This will be pretty much the first game after the last wipe. So on my new official account. So this account is ranked in the lower recruit league. I'm pretty much just out of the novice league. And my opponent here is quite a strong guy. It is Donkey Deer, who might be familiar to you from the AOW3. He is also one of the Gear Game employees and one of the community managers and the game designers, somewhere in between. And he's also an incredible player in Art of War. And he just started to play War Legends as we launched as well. So he's learning the game and at the same time learning our system. It is interesting enough that Donkey Deer didn't use any dev magic, he didn't ask for any resources. He has a bit of resources for which he literally paid his real money. So he was one of the first players in the world to donate, actually. And also, which is even more important, he is one game before advancing to the Warrior League. So I'm something about 370 rating, and he is like 997, I believe. So this type of the game is one of the worst possible scenarios, where I am in the lower part of the league and he is at the top part of the league. So it is the worst match that is even possible within the matchmaking system we have. It is just the game late in the night where I suppose there were only 2 players in the queue, so that's why we were matched against each other. In any other conditions and under any other conditions, we would be never matched against each other, because the difference is way too big. And it is a very interesting match for me, and there is a few reasons for that. First is obviously I am the higher experienced player in War Legends, so it is a nice handicap to have, rather than just beating the player who played less than me, so knows worse than me. And also, I already thought that probably I was gonna make a video for you guys about it, because obviously many of you, when you face the opponents like this, start thinking like this is impossible and the stupid game gave you such a strong opponent and how are you supposed to win. So I'm gonna show and explain you my own approach of how I was supposed to win and what I'm gonna do to try to overcome the higher ranked opponent with probably more things of the higher level. What about me? I'm pretty much have many things of level 3 or 4 of the units, but I have the weak scrolls, I have also the weak buildings, and I don't have my hero of the 4th level, I only have the 3rd level. I didn't level up any of my equipment because I don't have enough gold for that, and I also have only one hero. There is a big problem in the Recruit League, because in the Recruit 2 you receive the Altar of Heroes of the 2nd level, and pretty much by that time you will be also the Alchemist open. Normally, probably a little later or a little earlier, but even if you don't buy the Alchemist, you will just open it by receiving the cards from the chest. So I am now like 2 or 3 cards from Alchemist, but I don't have him yet, so I only have one hero. And my opponent has a possibility to summon 2 heroes, and he also has the 2 heroes on board. So it is of course the big disadvantage to me, but we are gonna work with it. We are gonna try to use the units instead of it, and you will be able to see if it might work, and probably you will be able to implement it for your own game. So anyway, let's get closer to the actual game, because it is 5 minutes in the battle now, and I decided to go and to start with orcs. I also went to scout my opponent, and what I saw was that he also going orcs, and it seems that we are nearly mirrored right now. And I also added the dark gate, so I pretty much started with 3 different production building, which is barracks and the workshop and also the dark gate. So it gives me an opportunity to build many different units, but not investing too much in the additional production building, because as you probably know, every next production building at the same time costs twice as much. So the first trucks is 200 gold and 150 wood, and that means that the second one will be 400, 300, and then 800, 600, and the price doubles pretty much every time. So if you can, you wanna build a different production buildings. So currently I have what StarCraft players call 111. And I also just went for my own chest. I didn't even go for the second one. I mean, I tried to sneak the second one, but rather than really sneaking it, I just lost my goon. And currently I'm also supply capped, but I started building my mana tower very early. And it is something I can really recommend, because I notice how many players actually forget about adding the mana tower when they are up to the second tier, because when they are up to the second tier, many possibilities arrive at that moment. So you are very excited about going one race and probably the other race, and adding the workshop and also choosing the heroes, and there are so many events to happen and so many decisions to make that the players literally forget that they also has to go forward to be able to gather the third farm soon. And it is the very important part. So here we have an interesting events going on, because I decided to go for the middle chest to grab more resources, and we can see how Danke instead of fighting me at this chest, decided to counterattack my economy with the Warg Riders. And I'm actually floating quite high right now. And I also built the second trucks, and I upgraded the second trucks. I was doing it while I was supply capped anyway, so I built quite a bit of aeronauts who used all my food lineage. Also added a couple of necromancers and a chieftain, and that is why I was supply capped. So until I haven't built the third farm, I didn't have anything to build really, so I decided to level up and take up my barracks to be able to build the X-Masters. And now we see that I'm almost out of any workers, and now I also noticed that, so I cancelled the upgrade of the workshop to free a little bit of my gold to be able to replenish the workers. So I left one necromancer behind to build a couple of skeletons, to resurrect a couple of skeletons. And anyway, when the smoke went down, we can see that I have quite a bit of units survived, obviously because I was killing the Warg Riders, and the Warg Riders were killing the workers. So he traded the Warg Riders for the workers, and in War Legends it is not always the best decision. And why is that? Because it is very easy to actually restore the worker count. I think many players really misunderstand this concept. So they think like in War Legends the harass doesn't work because it is very easy to wall in, and the towers are very strong and stuff like that, but I think it is not important like at all. And what is really important is that in War Legends it is very easy to actually restore the economy, because you don't have to build like 90 workers like a Zerg player in StarCraft 2. You only need up to 14 workers at the max, and it's not really too hard to build like 6 or 8 workers if you want. So I noticed that Donkey's army captured my mana well, and he didn't go to my base. So I decided to try a counterattack myself, and I was ready sort of to try to fight him. And in the end, I had enough time to destroy a couple of important buildings, and I'm just trying to trade this army, because I'm obviously not able to retreat. So I'm just using the Gloom Scroll that reduces his armor and also the attack strength, I believe. And not really attack strength, but the power and the resistances. And I just try to sell my units as expensive as I can, because he had the alchemist, and I also had a lot of aeronauts, who's a bit of outdated by this moment. And well, probably I'm better gonna retreat with the chieftain. So we traded the armies, and so far I don't think I'm in any of the trouble. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my mana well back, because after that I will be owning the 2 mana wells, and I'll be able to get the maximum mana at in a few seconds, because when you own the 2 mana wells, the mana restores really quickly. So the next important checkpoint will be the middle chest, and also at the 15th minute mark there will be a rock elemental. Quite an important moment of the game. And also I noticed that Donkey opted for playing the X-Masters, so I decided to make a little bit of the diversive army. So I built the Warg Riders, and I'm adding the Skeleton Archers. Somehow I still feel that Skeleton Archers are the great addition to pretty much any dark army, because they can drag the scrolls on them, and they also do a great damage for the cost. Obviously they are very fragile, but if they survive for a little bit, they can really do a significant damage. So I'm just waiting. I don't really want to go through the narrow choke, and I'm waiting for Donkey to go through this narrow choke, and I am comfortably staying near my Noble Tower, which I used to creep this center position. But we don't see Donkey Deer really going anywhere. He might be going throughout the right passage, I'm not sure, so I'm sending the unit there, and also to again capture the mana well. I'm already maxed in mana, but if I use the scroll, or if probably Donkey is not maxed out yet, this may lead me to the advantage. So now we can see that it is still a minute to play before the 15th minute mark. So somehow I decided that probably I'm gonna advance a little bit, but I still don't see Donkey Deer approaching. So I wanna use a single unit to capture the important stuff, and if we are gonna have the fight, I wanna fight here. And why is that? Because if you fight there in the middle, there is always a possibility that my opponent is going to step on the capture zone, and then I'm not gonna capture the object, and then probably I might also always lose the fight, right? So then I maybe end up losing the object. But now, against the two heroes and with the grog that, with the chieftain that was really exposed on HP, I actually lost the engagement quite badly, and I didn't really have a choice rather than just capturing the elemental and losing the elemental, because if I didn't do that, what Donkey would do is he would be immediately capture this elemental. I wouldn't be able to prevent him from doing so, and that would mean that I had to defense on my own base. So it's way better if I just send an elemental at him. Obviously he will kill it, but at least now I don't have to fight it on my own base. And in the meantime I try to remax. I try to use the resources, to use all the food I have, which is 86 currently. And by the way, if you guys don't have this many food with your 3 supply, then consider leveling up the farm. And I believe that the farm is the most crucial thing to level up in all the War Legends. And even if you are the free-to-play player who didn't donate a single penny into the game, you will still have enough resources to level up the farm, because it is the common building and it is very cheap to level up. And you will have at least enough food, and all the other stuff is not this important from my perspective. So anyway, you might be remembering that I was upgrading the workshop. Then I cancelled the upgrade to replenish my worker count, but then I get it back again. So I already have the catapults, but there was a funny misclick out of me, because I actually used the slave sweep on the donkey's army while I was intended to do the sharp turns. Obviously the slave whip doesn't do anything to the enemy's army, it is the economy scroll, so it was a little nice event. I'm not sure if Donkey even noticed, but probably he did, because he played enough games to be already almost 1,000 rating. So probably he knows the sound, at least if he plays with sound, because many players don't use sound, or at least don't use music. Music is up to you guys, but I really recommend to use the sound, because we have many alerts that are voiced, and you can really start noticing more things if you play with sound. And obviously voicing is just quite cool, at least for a mobile game. So I'm pretty much maxed out again, and I can see Donkey trying to replenish health, and I'm using this gloom stuff once again, and you can also see how great of a unit the catapult is, because they really shoot from like a screen away, and they do tremendous amount of damage. And also the skeletons, when they start to snowball a bit, they can really pull back pretty much any army. But you always have to remember not to be too excited, because War Legends is not really the game where you win one fight and immediately finish the game. It is really hard to take down the base, so you always must be cautious about what you do with the army. And now we can see the bombers, but anyway, I tried to finish off the barracks, because probably Donkey has more than one, so the second one is more expensive. I'm trying to micro. Probably it wouldn't be any worse if I didn't do any micro, but at least my skeleton warriors would be shooting. So in any RTS, including War Legends, it often happens that too many micro is bad, and sometimes people tend to over micro, and it turns out even worse when they just make their units move around and not shoot. But anyways, I have one catapult left, trying to finish off something else, probably the totem of orcs. This building seems to be upgraded to the second tier, so quite expensive again. And Donkey Deer does a great job recapturing this watchtower and also the Manuel. And it is 20 minutes in the game. We must be remembering about the resources chests. I captured the left chest with a worker, and I decided to pull that worker to the watchtower, trying to recapture it, but Donkey goes that way with all of his army, so probably I'm not gonna take this watchtower. Probably I might be trying to catch his army, not sure which way it's going. But anyway, in the meantime I recaptured the Manuel, and he didn't even capture the right chest, so it is a little win to me. Probably I was slightly faster with the decision making here, which comes out of experience, obviously. And now Donkey tries to use the Warg Riders, great units, in the situations like this when they really need to engage in somewhere in the back lane, something in the back lane, I mean. And honestly, he beats me here in quite a convincing fashion. I'm trying to deal additional damage, trying to probably take down the Alchemist, denying the additional heal from my opponent, but I'm not really able to do any of those. So all I actually can do is to try to win a little bit more time with this elemental, but it seems that eventually I'm gonna surely lose. But I can see that he's moving around the mana tower, because elemental is only now appears. I'm trying to make the position to probably sneak it away, but Donkey is not that careless. I use yet another sharp turns, trying to again to take down Alchemist with the aeronauts. Alchemist in the meantime uses the bottle, and I'm also microing with my Vark, doing everything I can, and in the meantime a little bit of reinforcement of the Vark Riders also come to the middle of the map, because I have the rally point to the middle of the map. And I'm trying to step in the capturing zone once again, but I keep losing the units, and probably at some point I just have to stop, because it is a little late. And here comes the rock elemental, but I already built the towers when it was a dangerous situation about the previous elemental, so actually I am quite good defended, I think. So all I need right now is to survive and to stay back a little bit. And I'm also starting to get the X-Masters again. Now I'm sending the Chieftain that's gonna die for sure, but the idea here is to win more time while the elemental will be killed under the Nepal tower. So it seemed that my plan worked successfully, so I'm just taking down the elemental without any of the Sim City. I hear many complaints like the elemental is useless if it can't get to the tower that is hidden beyond the buildings, and I don't really understand how do you guys play the game that you are hiding the tower beyond the buildings, and what do you even do with this kind of tower if the X-Masters come? So I don't really get it, and I don't really think it is the best way to play the game and the best way to actually defend the elemental. So I pretty much think that what I do here is the best way to defend the elemental. So I don't really recommend anyone to hide the towers beyond the buildings unless your opponent only play knights or probably the Varg Riders. But anyway, I have one Varg Rider out on the map that's gonna capture the enemy's chest again, and also the enemy's mana tower, and the skeleton gonna capture the chest. I'm not sure if you noticed, but when I need to capture something, I always use the patrol command, because with the patrol command the unit is not included in the select all button, so I can pretty much patrol everything I need in the spots on the map, and the other units I can simply control with the select all button. Sometimes you might be also using the hotkeys in the top right corner, and actually we are also creating the advanced controls now in the settings, and you will be able to select if you actually want your patrolling units to be selected with the select all or not, and if you want the hold position units to be selected with the select all or not. And we also adding the option to exclude the artillery units that are shooting ground, so you can select it that those shooting ground are not selected with the select all. It is something we are introducing in the latest build. I think it will be in the next version, but our devs already did it, so it's gonna be delivered to you guys quite soon. So I don't really think that anyone will be disabling this patrol and hold position function, but who knows. But the shooting ground is the very nice stuff in my opinion. But anyways, here I don't have any artillery units, I don't have the catapults yet, so I'm just trying to catch these units. We can also see how Danke decided not to go for the alchemist again. I'm not sure if it was intended, because it also happens sometimes that you suddenly realize that you are maxed out in food because you hired many units and you can't replenish the hero. So probably he just didn't catch the moment where he should stop with reinforcing and just resummon the alchemist. But anyways, I decided to capture the watchtower now. This is a weird map where we have only one watchtower, so there is no other one in the top right, so you pretty much need to control this one or you won't be seeing what's happening on the map. And most of the time Danke controls it, so I'm not doing the greatest job. And in the meantime I'm trying to reinforce again with the aeronauts, because what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to go circles with the army compositions, because when I see the X-Masters, I'm going for the Varg Riders and the Skeleton Archers. And when instead he swaps for the Varg Riders, I'm trying to add a little bit of X-Masters, not building any more Skeleton Archers and adding more aeronauts. So Varg Riders obviously don't shoot air, so I want to have more aeronauts. And once he has a lot of X-Masters himself, I don't want more aeronauts. So I'm trying to do Varg Riders and the Skeleton Archers. So I'm also trying to counter. I don't try to mirror the enemy's composition. Not because it's just uninteresting, but also I'm in the big disadvantage in terms of rating. So we can expect that my units are a little bit weaker, a little bit less level, lower level. So obviously I want to use the game design to give me an advantageous position, right? So I don't try to overcome with the same units, because it won't work, obviously. So you can of course just whine that the game is pay to win and the matchmaking is bad and how are you supposed to win, And here how you're supposed to win, you're supposed to counter the enemy with the units. In any RTS, including War Legends, in any game, including the game where you are in a bit of a disadvantageous position. Alright, so this catapult probably is not supposed to be here, because this fight I didn't do all too great. Why that happens? Because my hero was exposed. It is quite hard to replenish the hero's health. I have the Goblin Lab and I used it to heal my Varg Riders, but Varg Riders are quick, so they get to this position rather quickly, and Chieftain is not that quick, so I decided to rather just fight with it and then resummon it, and that means that I have to again give away the Elemental. For some reason Donkey decided not to go with this Elemental. Probably he was afraid that his own units and heroes are way too weak and way too low at health. I honestly feel that it was a mistake from him, and probably he should have tried to assault and probably take down a couple of buildings. But in the meantime, I was so sure that I'm gonna kill the Elemental easily, so I even sent out the 3 Varg Riders, but Donkey Deer catched those, so in the end that turned out not to be the greatest idea, but it at least won for me enough time to rebuild the army and, most importantly, rebuild the catapults, because what is good against the X-Masters are the catapults. What I pretty much learned in this game, I didn't build way too many catapults before, because I just entered the recruit league, so I didn't simply have the catapults before. And here we are starting to go. By the misclick I used the attack ground command, but turned out well. Catapults killed an X-Masters. I'm trying to slow down the Chieftain to let my units to make a couple of shots at him. And now Donkey Deer retreats. He decided to turn around. I'm not sure if this was the greatest call, but I think he just had his battle ready, so that is why he decided to fight. I'm trying to pull the Chieftain back a little bit, but then I actually decided to go forward and rather resummon it again and win a little bit of time for my catapults to shoot. And you can see how strong these units are when the enemy is clapped, or how we call it, stay too close together. So when against catapults, you should have to try to split your army, not stay packed, not stay in a pack, not together, because catapult shoot, and it has the area of effect. So it hits 2 or even 3 targets at once. Not as many as the ballista of the light faction, but still quite a bit. And yet again I'm gonna lose the watchtower. And what's actually important here is the timer. Never forget about the timer, because 35 is the mark when you are about to run out of gold. It is the very important mark, and if you didn't make any steps prior to the 35 minutes in the game to take the second base, you should heavily consider it right now, as quick as you can. And I'm doing it as quickly as I literally drop this manual, and I literally drop the next citadel to the next base, even before I kill the rats. But obviously in this step of the game it's not a problem to kill the rats, because I have enough units and they're strong. The catapults and the chieftain and the stuff like that, but you should think of it in time, because many players start to take the second base and the first base is already exposed. and obviously it is always too late. We can see the donkey's army here. I move my screen to check what's there exactly. Will there be the whole army? Will there be a couple of units? We can see a hero and a unit, and I assume that there's not gonna be the whole army. But I'm gonna move forward to probably meet it, and we don't see... Alright, here is the boy, and we are not gonna let it away, I believe, because the Warg Riders are the great units. Donkey uses the positional battle. I thought he was gonna retreat, but he doesn't, and I decided to actually go for it. We're not gonna lose that many HP, and I'm using the cavalry strike. I think you guys probably know that the Warg Riders, as well as the Knights and the Fox Riders, use the cavalry strike, and if you move it next to the enemy, they will hit on move, and this hit is called the cavalry strike, and it deals more damage compared to the normal hit. An interesting bug here, by the way, that there wasn't a number of how many workers there is in the gold mine, but you can see how well timed was the second base, because it is entirely 35 with a little when the base when the mine was run out of gold. And also approaches the timer of the next elemental. But the real treat is my second base right now. So I'm not even going with all my army on the lower watchtower, but I still decided to send one unit. And we can see that Donkey also built the second citadel. But we are gonna work with it later, because I really don't want to give away the elemental. Because right now his army is maxed and I have my second base unprotected, and I don't really wanna risk. But something weird happened. It seems that my chieftain used the circle strike, and also Catapult made a couple of awesome hits, so even though I obviously miscontrolled my army and half of my army is standing still and the other half fought actually the full army, but for some reason the fight went surprisingly well. And in the meantime I sent the 4 skeleton archers to this army, so I'm trying to fight in the 2 different positions, and of course for any mobile player it is way harder than it's in the normal PC RTS. And I'm not sure if you guys are used to PC RTSs or mobile RTSs, because I noticed that many mobile players actually don't play too many PC games, so maybe it's just how I perceive this. But anyway, in the mobile RTS it's harder, obviously, to play in the 2 different spots, so if you can make action in the 2 different spots, it will always be hard for your opponent to react. So what's happening now is Elemental going to crush the buildings. Something happened to the skeleton archers. Probably a couple of magic scrolls. And I don't really wanna lose the Vargs. Rather than that, I wanna take the chest. Alright, probably Donkey already took the chest. So it went through my fingers. But anyway, the rock elemental keeps doing the bad stuff to the enemy's base. The Tower of the Dark Magic is not really placed the greatest way. I think it should be rather placed between the gold mine and the main building. And I keep reinforcing here with the skeleton archers and trying to just casually take down the second citadel, while Donkey can't really pull his army off the main base because of the elemental. But now the elemental is killed, so he's gonna come to defend his base, and this is why I can afford it to send all of my units here too, because I don't have to bother about my own base in the top right. Because I can see, by having a watchtower, I can see that he's coming here. And this is why I can just kill the citadel. And I wanna hurry a little bit because it can turn out that I won't be able to make it on time. And now I'm pulling back because obviously I don't wanna fight under the enemy's tower. And I wanna turn around, initiate it with a catapult shot, then probably use some fancy scroll. This time around it will be the Circle of Power, and then the chieftain cries and buffs his army. We can see 2 attacking buffs at the same time on my units, and this is why they actually burst out the damage and they obliterate the enemy's army. I don't have too many units left myself, but if we look at the food tab, we can see that I'm quite high on food, that high that I even can't summon the hero. I already mentioned this effect, where you maxed out the units this quickly that you actually max them out before you can even resummon the hero. But I'm gonna lose a couple of low HP heroes soon, so my army probably not gonna be free. Because I keep ordering units. But now there is the 8th supply for the chieftain. Let's feed the chieftain. We can't feed it again. Alright, now we can. A couple more units go down, but most importantly the citadel goes down. And now I have enough to eventually take down this tower of the dark magic. And it looks to me like there is nothing left for Donkey Deer to be able to stop me, because I have 10k resources and I still have enough in the second gold mine, and he obviously should be running out of money right now. This is somewhat a fancy use of the Varg Riders, because I don't have many aeronauts and I don't have the hero, so he actually nicely clears off my army, because this army was consisting of the skeleton warriors, not the greatest warriors. But I keep reinforcing, and I decided to pull back a little bit to change the direction of my attacks and actually move from this side, because this side will also be protective to my base. And we can see his army really advancing on top. And this is the only thing I'm afraid of. So I decided to destroy the Tower of Dark Magic in my main base and rebuild it here, because I only have the Under Obelisk of the first tier open. I don't have the Under Obelisk 2, so I can't build the 2 towers at the same time. So I have to destroy one to build another one, so I do it. But luckily for me, Donkey decided not to go to that base. Actually, I think that it's something he had to do a few minutes ago. While I was assaulting the bottom level base, probably instead of trying to defend it, he should have traded for my own base. Probably that would be a better decision. But he opted for another one, so now he just tries to buy more time. But the problem is that time is not even working for him, because I'm looting my left chest, I am getting gold from the second base, the middle of the map is pretty much under my control, and the right chest is something that he's taking sometimes, but we can't even tell if he's gonna take the next one. And from what we are seeing now, me being maxed out, it seems like he's not actually gonna survive the next attack, because I also have catapults, and this is the great assault tool that either destroy the defensive base slowly but surely, or it makes opponent to trade for it, and the trade is not worth it. So it is what you have to do. And this is why we moved catapults and ballistas this early, as for you to make sure to get it in the Recruit League, because every players, without any donations, get the ballista and the catapult in the Recruit 1. In this particular league, which I am playing right now, you have this unit too, and you don't have to just brainless assault the army, die off the enemy's towers and things like that. You have to build a catapult, select all of your army to another hotkey. So what I do for that is I select everything and put it to hotkey 1, and then I select catapult and put it in the other hotkey. I use 3 so that there is the gap between them. And when I put the catapults to 3, it is being removed from 1. So in the 1 I have all the supportive squad. And then I just control my catapult to make it shoot the right target. And I just make sure that all the supportive army supports catapult, stays back and not to engage and not to die to towers and stuff like that. And this is the very quite simple positional assault that you should try to use every game. And what about the dark against dark matchup? That will be probably very often to happen in any league, because we just buffed the dark faction. What you wanna do is try to play like I did in this game. So when you see X-Masters, build more catapults and Varg Riders, and probably add a little bit of skeleton archers. And when you see the Varg Riders, opt for more aeronauts and not skeleton archers and not catapults, and try to circle. And when you see aeronauts, obviously you want to build the skeleton archers or the X-Masters, what you like more, and depending if your enemy has the catapults. From my own experience I can tell that skeleton archers are better against catapults than X-Masters. And this is only the Recruit League, when you are limited with your units, limited to this set. Because later we're gonna have zombies, we're gonna have venom speeders, we're gonna have the rocketeers, the cool stuff to work with, and I will surely show you in the next games how we can make use of those units. But even with this basic stuff, there are interesting plays that are available. So go out, queue in the game and try to use this. And don't be afraid of the opponents that are probably slightly higher than you in rating. Just remember that you are probably this awesome as a player, and your win rate is this high, and our system actually considers this. When it's gonna match you against someone who has a high rating, it means that your win rates are about equal. So your win rate is very high, and this is why, this is the reason why you can get the players like this, who is almost 1k rating, and you can beat him if you just do the smart things. So it is what I was intended to show this today. I hope you enjoyed the battle. Let me know, and make sure to also subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss the further videos. And that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.